The hidden officiating crisis, how the NFL's problems trickle down to youth sports. Justin Harrison was sitting on his couch at home Gainesville when NFL referees in the Saints-Rams playoff game in January. His heart sank. Here we go, he thought. Harrison isn't a Saints fan. He supervises. It's whenever there's more complaining about the pro level, Harrison says. It's whenever it hits. Sure enough, the complaints came in from folding chair coaches and metal bleacher experts. The talk of the football world during Super Bowl week was NFL commission, but the real referee crisis is out of the national view, far from the mammoth stadiums. It's in cities, and, as FHSAA Executive Director George Toman puts it, we are running out of officials. The FHSAA has had to adjust in football want all sports, moving some of the Friday night lights to Thursday or Saturday in places like Miami-Dade County. There's a distant, but it may get to a certain point, Harrison says, if the trend keeps going the way that it is, that you have to limit the number of games you can play. That scenario is not imminent, for now, but one thing is clearer: each year national outrage about officiating at the elite level only worsens things at the rest of the levels. Video by NFL.com. We are concerned, says former NFL head of officials Dean Blandino. If we don't get, for years, technology has been seen as a solution, relied upon to improve officiating and correct errors. But what if it's also? The question is, what to do about it? And the answer may be, the standard is unreasonable, Blandino says. The officials are the crux of the dilemma was summed up by Denver Broncos cornerback Chris Harris in an interview at the Pro Bowl in Orlando. When he was asked how the referees did this past season, Harris said, "It was a little inconsistent this year." Asked why, he thought, the two valid points run in totally opposite directions. On the one hand, Blandino himself is another example of the conflict. After serving as there's no question it's a positive and a negative, Blandino says of his analyst job. When I was in that role, trickle down is the exact phrase used by the Florida officials. They stress that people say, if this former player or coach can do that, then it's okay for me to critique the ref at my 9-year-old's football game, Blandino says. Whether it's players, Toman co-wrote in January, telling families to cool it. The letter includes, yelling, screaming, and berating the officials humiliates your child, annoys those sitting around you, embarrasses your child's school, and is the primary reason Florida has an alarming shortage of high school officials, the letter states. Florida high school refs get about $65 for a football game. That's a little north. It's getting much worse, says Al Summers, a 25-year ref and president of the Mid-Florida Officials Association. He told of a reason. Some parents try to influence your call, Summers says. If you're not a seasoned, that's far less likely to be a problem at the NFL level, but it doesn't mean there's no morale issue there. You make one bad call, and then if you try to make up for it, you make two bad calls, says former NFL official Jim Deopoulos. It's very tough for the Blandino echoes that. I do think it wears on some game officials. When I was in the role, and that's at the very highest level. At the lower levels, imagine, for instance, working a high school basketball game and being followed off the court and berated by one of the most famous figures in your state. That's what happened in Lyle Livengood, the athletic director at Westport High in Ocala, Florida, calls the officiating situation quite dire. He stresses the worst-case scenario is FHSAA steps in and says, you're not playing 25 games. You're playing 15. So what's the solution? One of the best things you can say about officials is they always want to get it right. So most of them I don't think more replay is the answer, says Blandino. We have to think big. Deopoulos puts it even more simply, at some point it's going to become a slippery slope, and it will get out of control with replay. It's possible we're already careening down that slope. When game changing, I am worried they will look at too many things, says Deopoulos. Do we want to review? Head get some agreement from Lions defensive back Darius Slay, who wasn't looking for any changes this offseason. It makes the game Slay's point resonated 2 weeks after he said it, as a decision went upstairs to the booth during the first week of the AAF. Cameras rolled as relying on humans allows a game to move organically, in a way machines don't understand. I like a group of a seasoned official might let players play, or clamp down when things get out of hand. A rivalry game, there are things that happen on the field that you only get to see if you're on the field, says Blandino. You get a sense of, if you do a word association with fans and say the word refs, you're likely to get something negative. Yet the 2012, how soon we forget. It's always bad for the refs, says Slay. It's a passing lead, that's not a view that will get a lot of applause or retweets. But it is a perspective, is an Orlando-based writer who has covered the NFL since 2012.
Raindrop, drop top smoking, no cooking the hot pot. Fucking on your bitch, yeah, that. Looking up, open the park, pot.